ગુજરાતીમીડિયા.com આજે એક એવી વ્યક્તિ સાથે વાત કરી રહ્યું છે જેણે ગુલામી વેઠી છે. અંકલ ટોમ્સ કેબિન, આ ચોપડી જો તમે વાંચી હશે તો ગુલામ પ્રથા શું હોય છે અને કેટલી કારમી હોય છે એના વિશે તમને જાણ હશે. અને આપણે સ્લેવરી વિશે બહુ બધું સાંભળ્યું છે, પણ કન્ટેમ્પરરી વર્તમાન સમયમાં સ્લેવરી શું હોય છે અને કેવી હોય છે એ જાણવું હોય તો આપણે મળવું પડે હેરોલ્ડ ડિસૂઝાને. એમને તાજેતરમાં જ અમેરિકન સરકાર તરફથી એવોર્ડ્સ મળ્યા છે. એમણે બરાક ઓબામાની સરકાર સાથે કામ કર્યું છે. પણ આ બધું થયું એ પહેલાં એમણે જે વેઠ્યું છે એ સાંભળ્યા પછી કદાચ તમારી રાતની ઊંઘ ઉડી જશે. આજે આપણે ઘણા બધા એવા કિસ્સાઓ સાંભળીએ છીએ જ્યારે લોકો ગેરકાયદેસર અમેરિકામાં પ્રવેશવાનો પ્રયત્ન કરે છે અને એ લોકો મોતને ભેટે છે. હેરોલ્ડ સાથે જ્યારે વાત કરી ત્યારે ખબર પડી કે એવા પણ મૃત્યુ છે જેમની કોઈ નોંધ પણ નથી લેવાઈ. જાણીએ એમની પાસેથી એમની જર્ની વિશે. વડોદરાનો એક છોકરો જેણે સ્લેવરી વેઠી હ્યુમન ટ્રાફિકિંગનો ભોગ બન્યો અને આજે એ વ્હાઇટ હાઉસમાં કામ કરે છે. મળીએ હેરોલ્ડ ડિસૂઝાને.
सबसे पहले आई वुड से नमस्ते, वंदे मातरम मेरे भारत मित्र वासियों को. सबसे पहले तो मुझे भी बुक में पढ़ा था मैंने, लाइक मानव तस्करी या स्लेवरी, लेबर ट्रैफिकिंग, और मैं सोचता था बाबा ज़माने में होता था करके, तो मुझे कुछ पता नहीं था. लेकिन मैं अमेरिका 2003 में गया. मीन्स आई वॉज इन्वाइटेड on a H-1B visa, which is a work visa, as a business development manager. So see, I went legally on a $75,000 salary per year plus benefits in the year 2003. It was a lot of money. So traffickers or perpetrators, they are very smart. They understand the mind psychology of all the victims. So he invited me on an H-1B visa as a business development manager on a $75,000 salary, but it was all pre-planned by him. I was manipulated, tricked and trapped. I went on 4 things to the United States of America. I went on a trust, I went on a promise, I went on a commitment, and I went to live my American dream. But little did I know, the day I landed in 2003, we were made to work in a restaurant. So it is a long story. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I myself didn't know that I am a victim of labor trafficking. See, I was not aware. I didn't know the culture, I didn't know the people, I didn't know the law enforcement agency. I am from Gujarat, right? I was born in Baroda. So Gujarat ma kawat છે, like America જોવો હોય તો it is like going to Swarg, like paradise or heaven. So I grew up as a child listening to that. So I was so excited. Oh, I'm going to the United States of America. That's heaven, that's paradise. So people were celebrating here. And I was also super excited because we saw the United States of America in the newspapers, in the TV, in the magazines, so we were so hyped. Wow, America, the most powerful country in the world. ये जो मेरा ट्रैफिकर था, he has been shopping. ये लोग इधर शॉपिंग कर रहे थे इंडिया में, तो मैं बकरा बन गया, राइट? एंड उसने काफ़ी लोग को लेकर गया. तो आई वेंट ओवर एंड देन आई वाज वर्किंग इन अ रेस्टोरेंट. हम लोग को रेस्टोरेंट में काम कराया. Right, my wife was not to work. She was not supposed to work legally. My wife was on an H-4 dependent visa. So so because, and I was on an H-1B, which is a work visa, right? And he fixed my wife's salary $2,000 a month. बोलते वो you got 2 kids. मेरे 2 बच्चे थे, 4 साल के और 7 साल के. वो तेरे को घर खरीदने का है, and you need money. So we didn't know anything, right? See, labor trafficking in the United States of America happens at 4 places: restaurants, gas stations, convenience stores, motels, and many other places like massage parlors, agriculture, farming, and various other places. A lot of my Gujarati friends are stuck in the first 4 places. Human trafficking is a $150 billion industry, $150 billion industry in the world, right? It is next to drugs. Many people are not aware. The risk factor is very thin. The profit margins are very thick. Even today, out of 10, 9 do not get prosecuted. I just want to share with my audience, that when you save 1 victim, you save 1 survivor. But when you prosecute 1 perpetrator, you are saving hundreds of victims. So we need to focus on the perpetrators. And I want to educate my people back in Gujarat and worldwide, or in India basically. Do not come to the United States of America illegally. If you come illegally, it is Nark or it is hell. But if you come legally, it is swarg, or it is heaven. But I also went legally, right? So I tell them the problems, the solution, and the resources. So this is a very long journey. It's just the tip of the iceberg. I was not talking for 10 years, right? So a lot of things has transpired. मेरे को रियलाइज हो रहा था धीरे धीरे कुछ गड़बड़ है, और हमको क्या डरा के रखा था दैट अमेरिकन्स डू नॉट लाइक ब्राउन स्किन गाइज. और यहाँ पे रेस्टोरेंट में अंडर कवर USCIS लाइक FBI लॉ एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसी आती रहती है ये इलीगल बंदे को ढूंढने के लिए. इन द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका अगर आप इमिग्रेंट हो, फॉरेन नेशनल हो, और अगर आप शिकार है ऑफ लेबर ट्रैफिकिंग, यू हैव ओनली वन निक नेम, दे विल कॉल यू इलीगल. So my trafficker is always call me illegal. He used to snap his finger like this. Hey, illegal, come here. So what happens in your mind, body and soul? You think you're a criminal. And then you go through trauma. I'll just give you one example, like to discipline me, to break me down. My trafficker slapped my 4-year-old son, a full-fledged jhapad, in front of my own eyes. For what? Did he do anything wrong? No. To teach me a lesson. So that I listen to him. It's emotional blackmail. My son cried, the 5 fingers on his cheeks. So he cried for 180 seconds. But I always tell, till I go to the graveyard, I cannot forgive myself. I am a sinner. I was appointed by President Barack Obama at the White House, and there was a press conference. And one of the press reporters asked me, Harold, tell me something about yourself. So I tell 3 things. I said, I'm a common man, I'm a failure, and I'm a sinner. They'll provide accommodation, रहना खाना पीना उधर ही वही premises के अंदर, नहीं तो it will be just 50 meters away. उसके पीछे कारण है, reason है that labor is available 24 hours. Number 2, you cannot say it is snowing or there is a storm, I cannot come. Next door, you have to just walking distance. And number 3, they will not give any salary because lodging, boarding is taken care. So this is all planned. So this is how you get trapped. We were staying in a 1-bedroom apartment which was just like 50 meters away from the restaurant. We used to work 16 hours a day. 7 days a week, 365 days. So it's not a joke, It looks very like unrealistic, but this is practical I've gone through. So today I've become like, my skin has become bulletproof. I don't care. I'm like, if any trafficker comes, I'm not worried. Because I've gone through all the phases in life. But I want to give a small example. Within few weeks, we were working 16 hours a day. So it was night 2 o'clock that my wife and myself, we were going back home. And my 2 sons, they were waiting for us. We lived as a joint family here in India. And my younger son and both older son were waiting. So I was so excited that I opened the door, to meet my kids. My younger son was sleeping next to the door with his head. I hit the door so hard on his head that even today it triggers me. And my older son was sleeping 6 feet away on the floor in just his undergarments. So we used to sleep on the floor. There was no microwave in the house. So there is a lot of things that has happened. So always I want to tell people that whenever you see a victim of labor trafficking, sexual abuse or LGBTQ also, we need to always support them. They will not tell the story. They might be smiling or they might be just walking. But it is too in-depth. And many times a victim or a survivor commits suicide. See, I didn't know anything. What happens when you are in that type of situation, your mind does not work. Especially when you've got wife and kids. Right? And that is how they operate. So my wife used to break down every day, and that is to break me down, and I could not do anything, and I was in a very helpless, hopeless, useless situation. But then as time passed, see, I'll tell you one thing, how they trap you in the cobweb, like a spider's cobweb, like quicksand के अंदर. इनका पूरा एक planning होता है. In the month of August 2003, मेरा ट्रैफिकर मेरे बोलता है you have to take a bank loan. तो मैंने बोला मेरे को बैंक लोन नहीं चाहिए, मेरे को मेरा पगार चाहिए. बोलते नहीं मेरे को घर खरीदने का है, यू हैव टू बिल्ड अ क्रेडिट. आई डोंट नो व्हाट इज अ क्रेडिट स्कोर. मैं 20 साल पहले की बात कर रहा हूँ, राइट. और अमेरिका में बोलते हैं यू हैव टू बिल्ड अ क्रेडिट स्कोर. तो मेरे पास कोई चॉइस नहीं था. आई वॉज कंपेल्ड, आई वॉज फोर्स्ड. ही टुक मी टू अ बैंक में लेकर गया. मैं बैंक मैनेजर के कैबिन में बैठा. 5 मिनट के अंदर मेरे नाम का एक चेक है और 5 फिगर्स, और मेरे को कुछ पता नहीं, तो चेक लेकर गया, गाड़ी में बिठा. एंड बाय द वे, all traffickers or perpetrators are multi-millionaires. They have 2 personalities. So मेरा जो trafficker था, he is a multi-millionaire. Stays in a multi-million-dollar house, and he says, takes me to his bar room, puts a scotch in a shot glass, and tells me, Harold, cheers, let's celebrate. You're a rich man. And by the time I put the scotch, it was late afternoon. And by the time the scotch would reach my stomach, he removes a chit from his pocket and tells me, Harold, you owe me this money. And friends, it was not $10,000. It was not $20,000. It was not $40,000. It was much more. So in 1 second, I lost 4 things of my life. I lost my voice. I lost my courage. I lost my hope. And I lost my freedom. And before I could understand what happened, he taps me on my back and he tells me, come on, let's go. You owe me much more. And then, see, that is what was a debt bondage. I didn't know. Because I was just innocent. I didn't know. Next day, he withdrew all the money from my bank account. And if there is a girl involved in labor trafficking in the United States of America or anywhere in the world, sex trafficking is involved. People have to understand, but nobody will talk or nobody will share because it's a stigma. It's a shame. That's why I support even girls of sex trafficking. No girl gets raped out of choice. So what is her mistake? But here they say it's a stigma. अरे समाज શું કહેશે? અરે દુનિયા શું કહેશે? અરે હું કહું દુનિયા કઈ ભાડમાં મારા જે છોકરા લોકોને થયું જે મારા વાઈફને થયું and I want to support other people. We need to educate our people. I was very resilient that I wanted to fight. मैं और एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ. दिसंबर आया. दिसंबर में उधर स्नो गिरता है. हमने तो ज़िंदगी में इधर स्नो देखा ही नहीं, राइट? तो स्नो गिरा तो हमारे को स्कूल टीचर से नोट आता है कि बोथ माई सन्स कैन नॉट कम टू स्कूल इफ दे डू नॉट वेयर स्नो जैकेट्स. बट मेरा जो शेफ था उसने खरीद के लाया स्नो जैकेट. सो दीज आर रेड फ्लैग्स इन द स्कूल वेयर दे कैन आइडेंटिफाई विक्टिम्स ऑफ लेबर ट्रैफिकिंग. Next day, school teacher ने note भेजा that both my sons cannot come to school if they do not wear snow gloves. So these are some small tips, that people don't. I would try to create red flags so that whenever somebody is watching, समाज लोग, हमारे जो community members है, they'll become red alert. At one time, I failed on 4 P's. I failed as a parent, I failed as a provider, I failed as a protector, and I failed as a person. I turned obstacles into opportunities. I flipped the script of my life. I flipped those 4 P's into passion, purpose, power and prayers. He had fixed my wife's salary $2,000 a month and didn't pay her a dime. So my wife could not take it. So she confronted my trafficker in the kitchen in the morning, and said that, why don't you pay me my back wages? So what he says? You're illegal. You're not supposed to work here. Who told you to work? I can call the immigration department right now and get you arrested, handcuffed, jailed and deported. But my chef, he heard it. And he was in a similar situation in some other state. And he told me, Harold, you are done. You will die, your wife will die, your 2 sons will die. You need to get out from here. And that is how I went and filed a case with the US Department of Labor. I didn't know anything. That it was a case of, and the Department of Labor thought it is a case of back wages. That time there was no education that it is a case of human labor trafficking. I also didn't know. And you will not believe that in the United States of America, there were 6 states in 2003 where there was no law on human trafficking. And Ohio was one of the states. But I always tell, everyone has the power to change. You cannot just leave everything to our Prime Minister Narendra Modi or anybody else. We also as a community members have the right and responsibilities. So I fought. So in 2012, the governor of Ohio passed a law. So now it's a felony. So I said, come on, this is not right. You say freedom of speech, freedom of right. It's not right. I create awareness on human trafficking. I am an ambassador for youth for human rights at the United Nations. Right? So many people do not know that there are 30 articles created by United Nations. It's for every individual who's there born. Like Article 4 says no slavery. Article 5 says, no torture. So people are to be aware that these articles are applicable to each and every individuals who are born on this planet. Like Article 1 says, we are all born free and equal. And I myself didn't know. So I always tell that every child who is born should be taught in the school or in colleges, like we teach A, B, C, D or 1, 2, 3, 4. They should be taught this 30 articles. So that empowers them, Whether it is a boy or a girl, we have to teach them. I was not talking for 10 years. My wife was the only talking. I used to always break down. And when my case was with the FBI, they got a leading TV news channel to my house. And they said that, your story should be out in the public. And for me, it was like a stigma. It was a shame. I had not come out of my trauma. Then they sent me for counseling. And then later on they came, they shot, And then what I thought, I'm from India, right? And समाज चूके से हमारी इज्जत गई. But then it was a blessing in disguise. When it came in the TV news, it was a blessing in disguise. People started like talking, came to hug me in the parish, in the community. Oh my God, Harold, and now we know why you're not talking. Then I started talking slowly. It was a slow process. So two victims whom I know died. One is from, so whom I know. I don't want to name the countries. One was from India, one some other, with whom I worked. And their death has gone unnoticed. I can still hear the cry on the phone. And I just couldn't do anything. And he was helpless. I was useless. I just didn't know how to guide him. So then it was a God's call that, Harold, you got to be the voice for the voiceless victim. So today my passion is to be the voice for the voiceless victims, and that is what I'm doing. It is not about my story. It is about the other people who are vulnerable, victims, survivors. I want them to fight. I want them to motivate them, encourage them, enlighten them, educate them. That come on, there is a better world. You made a mistake, or mistakes happen to you, but you got the right to live. There's a kawat in Gujarat, Surat nu jaman ne Kashi nu maran. You will not believe, my trafficker hired a guy to kill me, shoot me. You've seen pictures, right? Yeah, so this is a long story, to kidnap my kids. You think I've gone through like this? I was hospitalized, they put 8 units of blood, I was done. Doctor said, you are finished. But I always tell, everyone gets a visa for 36,000 days. Whether it is Narendra Modi, Harold D'Souza, Amitabh Bachchan, Sachin Tendulkar, President Barack Obama, you name anyone on this planet. 36,000 days is 100 years. 100 years I'm not going to live. So what happened? Earlier I used to run. Now I flipped. I said, come, kill me. Because then my trafficker is not going to live. Nobody lives more than 100 years. So the fear of death is gone from my mind, body and soul. So I want to see what I can give back to the community. And that's how I started my non-profit organization called Eyes Open International. And I started talking. I started doing presentations and people were very excited. So I did a couple of presentations in Washington, DC. So somebody might have recommended my name at the White House. I don't know. So it happened in February of 2015. I started getting calls and I just didn't know. Well, we have been nominated. We would like to appoint you on the United States Advisory Council on Human Trafficking at the White House. But I had nothing. It was all. And it went on for 8-9 months. And then on December 16th, in the evening, I get a call from the White House. Congratulations, Harold. President Barack Obama has announced your name. Now you can go and inform everyone that, that you have been appointed. I was working. The call might be for 1 minute. And I was working second shift. So I go home at night, 12 o'clock. I took a shower. I was having dinner. I just was going to bed. I just checked my phone on WhatsApp. There are hundreds of messages. And Obama announced in the morning. It was evening in India and different countries. And it was, when I reached night, it was in all the newspapers. Because I was the only Asian appointed. There were 11 survivors appointed by President Barack Obama. And President Barack Obama was the first president in the history of America where he started an advisory council on human trafficking. And I was fortunate to represent the survivors and victims, especially of my friends back in India. And in January 5th, I was inside the White House. And then they inspired me to start my non-profit, Eyes Open International. And then in August, I started my non-profit organization called Eyes Open International, registered under 501c3. I didn't know, so it all happened. I always said teamwork makes the dream work. खास करके हमारे जो मेरे मित्र हैं भारत में, खास करके गुजरात में, नॉर्थ इंडिया में, उनको इतना क्रेज़ है यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका जाने के लिए कि कनाडा, विच इज़ गुड. मैं ऐसा नहीं बोलता कि कंट्री ख़राब है, कंट्री बहुत अच्छा है, बट इलीगली मत आओ, एजेंट को पैसा दे के मत आओ. जैसा मैं बोल रहा हूँ अभी कनाडा में लास्ट ईयर एक पूरा फैमिली दे ड्राउंड, दे फ्रोज टू डेथ, हस्बैंड वाइफ एंड 2 किड्स. और ये साल में भी हुआ. तो ये तो मीडिया में आया, पर ऐसे कितने सारे फैमिलीज है जो मर गए. तो इसलिए मैं मेरे काफ़ी मित्रों को बोलता हूँ, आप लोग यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका अगर कोई कुछ बोल रहा है, आपको कोई इनविटेशन भी मिल रहा है, हम लोग को कांटेक्ट करो, आइज ओपन इंटरनेशनल. इसलिए हम लोग ने संस्था खोला है. तो नोट दिस नंबर, दैट्स 1-888-3737-888. दैट्स द नेशनल ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग हॉटलाइन नंबर. और ये लोग क्या करते हैं, दे विल हेल्प यू. अगर आप एक शिकार है ऑफ लेबर ट्रैफिकिंग, काफ़ी लोग को पता नहीं है दैट द गवर्नमेंट of the United States, there are resources like something called continued presence status. It's a status, it's not a visa. आपके पास पासपोर्ट नहीं है, आपके पास वीज़ा नहीं है, वर्क परमिट नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है अमेरिका के अंदर, लेकिन आप एक शिकार बन गए मानव तस्करी के और स्लेवरी, But law enforcement agency को पता पड़ गया and they are convinced, they will issue on the spot a continued present status that will change your life. You can't do two things. You cannot vote and you cannot leave the country. But you get four things. For any common man to survive in the United States of America, you need four things. You need a state ID. You need a work permit. You need a social security card and you need freedom. So with CP, continued presence, you get that. And once you get the continued presence, you are entitled for a U visa or a T visa and then a permanent residency card and then US citizenship. मैं इतना छाती ठोक के क्यों बोलता हूँ? Because I went through that channel. My FBI agent gave me the continued presence status and I went through all this channel. So that is very important. And if you are in Canada, so the National Human Trafficking Hotline number of Canada is 1-833-900-1010. So there are resources available. So just don't go because you are like paying 80 lakhs or 1 crore, but you don't know that you are paying those money for your own coffin, for your own death, for your family. Why are you doing that for your own kids? If you are 4 years old, 11 years, उसका क्या गुना है? माँ बाप जा रहे हैं, किसने सब हकीकत बताता ही नहीं है. मैं आपको हकीकत बोल रहा हूँ. अमेरिका में अगर आप डॉक्टर हो, लॉयर हो, मिलियनर हो, गाड़ी खुद चलाना पड़ता है, लॉन्ड्री खुद करना पड़ता है, वैक्यूमिंग खुद करना पड़ता है, कोई आपको काम वाली नहीं मिलेगी. यू नो इट्स अ फैक्ट. कोई बोलता ही नहीं है. वो लोग से बोलते हो मेरे पास गाड़ी है, वो तो वो लोग फोटोग्राफ देखते हैं लेकिन सच कोई बयान नहीं करते. तो काफ़ी लोग मिसगाइड करते हैं. ये लोग जाते हैं 9 months लगता है, कभी 1 साल लगता है पहुंचने के लिए. अभी मैं एक बंदे को मिला वॉशिंगटन डीसी में, राइट. वो बॉर्डर से आया प्लेन से, राइट, कुछ नहीं. फिर मैक्सिको आया, ग्वाटेमाला आया, फिर वहाँ से जंगल से चल के आना पड़ता है. कभी कभी 3 महीना लगता है, नहीं तो कभी कभी 7 महीना लगता है. उसमें से 10 जन में से खाली एक ही जन पहुंचता है अमेरिका. और क्या करता है? खाना लेके जाता है. खाना कब खत्म होता है? दे ईट ग्रास एंड लीव्स. व्हेन दे रन आउट ऑफ वाटर, हकीकत सुन लो, दे ड्रिंक देयर ओन यूरिन. आई स्टेड विद देम, आई लिव्ड विद देम, आई नो इट. So that's why I try to create awareness. Prevention is better than cure. So when you know it, you have that type of money, or contact us, contact some people, friends. Just don't rush. Canada or America. आप इधर ही अच्छे हो. Others come legally. Come on an F1 visa. Come on a B1, B2 visa. If you are in India, I always tell, like contact. We have a regional director, Hriday Rawal. He's based in Ahmedabad. And his number is 79902-62632. So we operate this number as a hotline number, and we have rescued or helped a lot of people in different countries. काफी लोग को हम लोग ने freedom दिया. Getting the visa is ultimate freedom, and then I don't know how to express because मेरे कितने मित्र उधर है that they don't have a visa. I know how it feels. कितने जन वापस नहीं आए, उनके माँ बाप को नहीं देगा, उनके they are not seeing their wife. People get into contract marriage. और एक चीज़ मैं उनको बोलता हूँ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैरिज में तो अटक जाते हैं. कितने, मेरा एक दोस्त है, ही लॉस्ट $46,000. कितने जन विजिट वीज़ा पे जाते हैं और बोलते हैं बाद में वो लोग को मोटेल में काम कराते हैं, नहीं तो रेस्टोरेंट में बोलते हैं रुक जा मैं तेरा ग्रीन कार्ड करा दूंगा, क्योंकि उधर लेबर बहुत एक्सपेंसिव है. तो मैं उनको बोलता हूँ यार मत रुको, जाओ वापस. बाद में क्या अटक जाते हैं, बोलते कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैरिज कर देंगे, तो उधर अगेन व्हाट हैपन्स, डेड बॉन्डेज. फिर वो लोग उधर ही अटकते, बाहर ही नहीं आते. एंड बाद में बोलता है मेरा सबको लगा मैं अमेरिका, मेरा सभी समाज क्या बोलेगा. So I trying to break that ice, that okay, I am trying to do in my own community here. तो ठीक है, गलती हो जाती है, समाज क्या है यार, we have to help. हम लोग हमारे भाई बंधुओं का होकर हम लोग हेल्प नहीं करेंगे. अगर हम लोग का अगर भाई है, बहन है, अगर हम लोग का कोई हस्बैंड है, वाइफ अटक गया तो ठीक है, हो गया गलती यार, तो ऐसा थोड़ी लाइफ खत्म. नो, लाइफ अभी स्टार्ट होती है. आई ऑलवेज से फेलियर इज द पाथ टू सक्सेस. अभी बॉलीवुड इज डूइंग अ बायोपिक ऑन मी. This is again a blessing. I never dreamt, right? So I think Humans of Bombay did an article on me a couple of years back. It went viral. So it was an Indian public demand that there should be a biopic, and then everybody contacted me, all leading producer directors. That time I was in the US, and मैं पहले सोचे मजाक है, it's a prank. तो बोलते नहीं आपको we have to make a film. Then I came, they were very serious, and then I said shoot, and then I didn't know ABC of film industry how it works, and they said that they want to do a biopic of my journey from India or Gujarat to the White House. So I said okay. Then eventually I signed the life right agreement. So I'm not in a position or I'm not entitled to talk, but the producer directors will share at the appropriate time. So somebody is going to do my role, a professional actor, and best part is that everyone has agreed. So they're quite inspired. So, and I have told that when anyone sees this movie, they'll walk out with lot of motivation, inspiration, that there is a better life, but not to quit. Whether you are in pandemic, you got ill health, unemployment, poverty, or a victim of any crime, that's fine. You can start a new life. And I always tell of my journey. Whenever I do presentations all over the world, I tell people to take 4 things from my journey. Be happy, think positive, never quit, and believe in yourself. मेरा ट्रैफिकर मेरे को ऑलवेज बोलता था, तेरा तो कुछ नहीं होएगा, यू आर फिनिश्ड, इट्स इम्पॉसिबल, आई हैव ग्रीस्ड द palms of the US Department of Labor, law enforcement agency, you will go to prison, nothing can happen. I never told him, but today I tell in public, I always tell in my mind, body and soul, for traffickers to tell the victim it is impossible, okay, but for me, for Harold D'Souza, it is I am possible. So you cannot put a full stop. So I always tell that desire changes nothing, decision changes something, but determination changes everything.